likelihood of a venture like this succeeding, and me making it and me even making it to Mexico, is extraordinarily low, huh? See what I'm saying? Which is why there came the idea of taking out the lawyer and the dentist along with the rights salon.
And who's the lawyer that you're talking about here?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is that in reference to Jeff Durrell?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
You know that Jeff is a really good friend of mine, don't you?
I would assume he is. I have no personal knowledge of that.
And you know that the folks at Hansen Laporte are getting paid a lot of money to defend me in this case, correct?
I have no personal knowledge of what, if anything, they're getting paid to defend you.
If somebody were to murder Jeff Durrell, would you not agree that that would hurt my case, my representation in that lawsuit you filed against me?
I don't know. I hope it doesn't happen. I like Jeff. I personally like Jeff.
So you don't think if my lawyer got murdered that it would affect my case at all? My defense?
Well, given that you said that you've hired the entire Hansen Laporte law firm, I think it would certainly hamper your defense because he's the one handling it, but but it's irrelevant. I've got no intention of harming Mr. Durrell, and I've never have had any intention of harming Mr. Durrell, or you, or anyone else.
Objectives to responsiveness, non-responsive. Which is why there came the idea of taking out the lawyer. Those were your words, right?
I've asserted my Fifth Amendment privilege to with respect to whether they were my words, and I think it says idea. Are we talking about thoughts now? Is that what you're asking me, Mr. Retzloff, about my thoughts?
Dude, I'm talking about your words. I'm talking about the words that we just listened to there in your voice. That's what I'm talking about. You're suing me right now for $100 million, correct?
That's correct.
And that case is currently pending in federal court, correct?
Correct.
And we also have a proceeding pending in front of the United States Supreme Court, correct?
Yes, we do.
So if my lawyer gets murdered, that would hurt my case, wouldn't it?
I assume that it would, but I have no intention of harming your lawyer.
Yeah, okay. We're supposed to believe you, though, right? You want us to believe that?
Objection, abusive and harassing.
Who's the dentist that you're talking about here also? Who's that in reference to?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Would that be Dr. Ryan Daniel?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
And Dr. Daniel, he's the one that we just talked about earlier today about the state bar grievance, correct?
We did talk about Dr. Daniel earlier today with respect to a state bar grievance.
And you're pretty mad that you got disciplined because of his grievance, weren't you?
You're asking, am I still mad or was I mad? I didn't hear the question fully.
Were you mad? Were you mad?
Yes, I was.
Along with the rights salon.
But what does the dentist have to do with anything?
Well, he's responsible for what happened today.
So what is it that happened that Dr. Daniel was responsible for?
Well, as far as I'm not saying that this is me in the recording or whatnot, but he got discipline imposed against me, and for something where, frankly, he's a lying sack of shit.
And when was it that this discipline was imposed upon you? What was the date?
I think we settled in November of 2018, but the order wasn't finalized until late December of 2018, if I recall correctly.
And Dr. Daniel is a lying sack of shit, correct?
Yes, he is.
And why do you believe that he is a lying sack of shit?
Because that's what I represented my client against him for. This guy was sore at the fact that my client left his employ to go work for someone else. So he started making up false statements about her and getting her fired from the job she had been at, and that's why he was sued. Much like the reason you've been sued.
And how did that lawsuit against Dr. Daniel end up working out?
My client directed me to dismiss it.
So Dr. Daniel wasn't found liable for anything, was he?
No, but I read the material. I'm going
to stop you right there, dude. This isn't a platform for you. And Dr. Daniel filed a grievance against you with the state bar, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And so you hold him responsible for what happened that day.
I do.
Well, he's responsible for what happened today, and it says, I'll tell you in a minute, and so he, it sends a message. I mean, really the only purpose for them was to ensure that if I am caught, that I get the death penalty, so I'm not rotting in prison for the rest of my life. Because if I get caught, I want the death penalty.
So you're saying there that if you get caught, you want the death penalty, correct?
I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege.
If you only kill one person, chances are you probably won't get the death penalty. Is that correct?
I think it depends on the situation. I know that murder of a child under a certain age is a capital offense in Texas.
We're not talking about children here, though, are we, Jason?
I'm not saying we're talking about anything here, Mr. Retzloff.
If you kill more than one person, say 3 people, that you would think that a person would be eligible for death penalty, correct?
Yes, under the law of Texas, that would be a capital offense.
And if you had gotten that job at the Victoria County District Attorney's Office, you would be prosecuting those kinds of cases, wouldn't you? At least you hope.
Yes.
And you actually thought that you were qualified for that job, correct?
For the 3rd or 4th time, yes.
Despite those social media posts about you calling people niggers and wanting to hang them.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, correct.
And you think that it's totally cool for a prosecutor to go on social media calling people niggers and talking about lynching them. You don't have a problem with that, correct?
I was not a prosecutor at the time, Mr. Retzloff.
No, but you posted these things, though, before you applied for that job, correct?
Yes.
And you thought you were qualified for that job, correct?
I was qualified for that job, Mr. Retzloff, and you stuck your damn nose in my business and pigeonholed it.
And you applied at 30 or 40 other places for similar type prosecutor jobs, correct?
Around that number, yes, sir.
And did you disclose to any of these other agencies that you had posted insensitive remarks on social media?
No, I did not.
You don't think that that would be relevant?
No, I don't.
So what would happen if you were prosecuting somebody who was black and the defense attorney were to dig up that social media post and see it? What do you think would happen?
I don't know what would happen.
You don't think you'd get bounced from the case?
I might, but I think it would probably depend on how I treated that person.
You think?
If I had gotten that job as a district attorney, Mr. Retzloff, I'd have treated everyone the same way. But you interfered with that job. You admitted that you interfered with that job, and that's why I didn't get the job. And that's the only reason why I didn't get the job. Isn't that right?
How do you know it was because of me that you lost that job?
Because you admitted it in your state bar grievance you filed on December 20th of 2017. Yeah, that's right. I've got a copy.
And so, what? You think that you were entitled to have that job?
I think I'd earned it. Yes. I don't think I was entitled to it, but I think I'd earned it. I'd gone through the interview process. They had approved my salary. I had gone to Victoria County. I'd looked at a house. I'd put an offer in on my house after having hired a realtor, and I was set to begin 12 days from the time that I got fired. You want to know what else happened? Well, I was at a party for me to celebrate my new job, hosted by some of my clients. That's when I got the email from that son of a bitch, Steven Tyler.
And what did Steve have to say?
Well, let's see.
Well, it doesn't have to be exact. He basically told you you're fired, right?
Basically, yes.
Okay. We're going to pause that audio recording for a moment. Can you see what I'm showing you here?
I do.
And what is it that we're looking at?
A false and defamatory article by a son of a bitch named Ken White.
Okay, and that's a blog called popat.com, correct?
That's correct.
And what's the date of that article?
July 9th, 2017.
And what does the headline on that article say?
Texas attorney Jason L. Van Dyke, fraudulent buffoon, violence-threatening online tough guy, vexatious litigant, proud bigot, and all-around human dumpster fire.
And that's a photograph of you, correct?
That is?
Let's start reading this, okay? This is kind of fun.
I object to the form as to anything with this article. Mr. Retzloff, you're out of order. This has nothing to do with this lawsuit.
You're the one claiming that it's my fault that you got fired from that job.
Yes, I am, because you've admitted it.
I maybe not. I don't remember. Anyway, so we've got this article here by Ken White that's dated on July of 2017, correct?
Yep, I see it.
And that was even before I had filed the state bar grievance against you, correct?
That's correct.
And this article is visible to anybody who's got a computer anywhere on the planet, correct?
Yeah, anyone that lacks the brain cells to know Ken White's an idiot.
Okay. And why do you think that Ken White is an idiot?
I think his actions speak for himself.
Ken White is a former United States attorney, correct?
I don't know. I have no personal knowledge as to what his employment history is. I think anyone that would write an article like that, which is so obviously false, is a fucking idiot, yes.
Okay. Do you know that he's a lawyer in Los Angeles right now?
I know that, yes.
Okay. Here's a tweet from you dated 9th of July. Look at all of these. These look pretty violent, don't you think?
I'm not answering these questions. These are outside the scope of discovery, and we are now well into abusive and harassing questions. Now, you either stick to the allegations made in these pleadings, Mr. Retzloff, or I'm going to suspend this deposition.
Anytime you want to walk out, you can, but you know I'm going to get a default against you, and you're going to get hit with the ban hammer for the rest of your life.
Yeah, we'll see how. We'll see about that.
Is that a photograph of you?
Yes, it is.
And what does it say under there? What did you post?
If you mess with my career, the one that requires me to wear a suit, I might be dressed like this the next time you see me.
And what is it that you're wearing in this photograph?
I'm wearing some Cry Precision camouflage multicam pants and what appears to be a multicam plate carrier, a khaki...
Body armor.
Yes, correct.
You're wearing body armor and you're carrying an assault rifle dressed in camouflage.
I don't know what an assault rifle is, Mr. Retzloff, so I can't answer that question.
You're carrying a rifle.
I am carrying a rifle, yes.
And that looks like an M4 rifle.
Well, I can tell you it's not an M4 rifle because an M4 is fully automatic, and I've never had a fully automatic.
Okay. What type of rifle is that, Jason?
That appears to be a CAR-15 or similar variant.
And it looks like it's got a suppressor on the front there. Is that what that is?
Yes, it is.
And what is the purpose of a suppressor on a CAR-15?
Purpose of a suppressor on any weapon is to reduce the noise and muzzle flash produced by the sudden expansion of air when a round leaves the barrel.
And what we're looking at here, this is an email, looks like you sent to Kenneth White, correct?
Mr. Retzloff, I'm not going to warn you again. We are well outside the scope of discovery in this case. I'm not going to answer the questions about stuff sent to Ken White when this case is about the relationship between me and you.
This case has to do with threats of violence.
Against
Would you not
you. It has threats to do with alleged threats of violence against you, and has nothing to do with Ken White. Is Ken White on your witness list? Oh wait, I forgot. You haven't answered discovery, so there is no witness list from you.
But your propensity to commit violence, your willingness to commit violence, is at issue in this case. Would you not agree?
I disagree. The issue, where's that part of the statute?
Well, when the court is trying to decide whether or not to grant a protective order, if a person has a history of violence, as opposed to a lovely church-going young boy who doesn't even drink alcohol, that would be something the court would take into consideration in deciding whether or not to grant an order of protection. Correct?
No, that's not what the statute says, Mr. Retzloff. I would direct you to Article 7A. Is that what the statute says?
And aren't you going to try to present yourself as a peace-loving young man?
Yes, because that's what I